Hello and welcome to my first Foamstars guide. Today I will be covering a simple beginner's guide to understand how to play Foamstars. In this guide, I will assume that you at least play one or two matches of Foamstars and understand the complete basics of the game and other things. The first main aspect about Foamstars is the foaming mechanics. Every character in the game can shoot foam from the weapons and it piles up on the ground. What makes the foam mechanics in this game so unique is the fact that once it's on the ground, it can pile up and up and up and up, and you can basically essentially create cover or high ground. Like for example, if you're playing Ravebreaker, you could he has a hose type weapon that the hoses can produce a lot of foam, but you can also use that to build like a foam pile and get on top of a high ground that you normally can't do so. With that in mind, each character's main weapon, it does produce like a decent amount of foam, but that's not really the main way to spread foam quickly. The way to spread foam quickly in this game is through characters' abilities and ultimates. Because some characters' abilities, like Brisador's Taraja charge, his first ability, that can produce a lot of foam. So in general, abilities in this game is going to produce more foam than just shooting your main weapon. This next part is going to be about the general game flow in the actual match of Foamstars. So once the match actually starts and you're in the arena of Foamstars, there's gonna be some things you want to think about doing and making sure you're not instantly dying as soon as the match starts out. Now this part is gonna be different for everybody because everybody learns differently. So don't be upset if you're not gonna be if you're gonna seem like you're gonna be dying a lot starting out. So once the match starts and you foam, most of the times you want to head generally to the middle of the map and watch for a gate. Now this part is going to be different for everybody because a lot of things that can happen in the match. But as a general rule of thumb, to start an engagement and to get successful kills, abilities are going to be the main way to do that. All the characters' abilities in this game are great tools to open up a fight or open up a team. Because for example, Sora and her first ability, Bubble Step. So if the match starts and you're playing a Sora, you get to the middle of the map and notice that an enemy is out on the open. Quick thinking reaction. You notice them, you can get a little bit closer and then use her Bubble Step. Bubble Step is in its current form right now is pretty strong. And it's also great because it puts you in the air. So if they don't see the Bubble Step coming, then you can drop on the head, and since you're above them, they're probably not going to see you. Like that's just an example, but like stuff like that, like abilities are going to be used to open up opponents and catch them off guard most of the time. Another part about game flow that I mentioned a little bit ago is about opportunity. That can also include like after the beginning of the match is up. After that, then you gotta look for basically opportunities. Because for example, because once you get like a few minutes into the match, most of the map's gonna be foamed up. A good part about opportunities is game awareness, which comes over time. Everyone can increase their game. But for example, if you see a teammate is in trouble, more times than not, it's better to try to help them so they won't get chilled up or foamed up. But you got to read the situation because this is gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. Happened to me in a lot of games. But if you see a teammate is like towards the enemy spawn and he's fighting 3v1, it's better not to help them, even though it sucks to say that, but it's just the truth. Because if you go try to help them, they'll probably be they'll probably be dead by the time you get over there. And then if you full commit to the help, the enemies are just gonna turn to you and shoot you, and you're gonna instantly die because you can't win a 3v1 in this game. So it's stuff like that. It's about such a situation awareness, because a lot of opportunities do comes from catching people off guard or enemies shooting your teammate and you come up behind the enemy shooting them in the back. But overall, the game flow is mainly about awareness and can definitely always be improving on. Next section we have is about the different game modes. This section is going to go by relatively quickly because the game modes are, in my opinion, pretty simple to understand. So the first game mode we have, which is going to be the main game mode of the game, is Smash the Star. Smash the Star is basically team deathmatch, but each team has 7 lives by default. This is the most cut and dry mode because all you gotta do is just defeat the enemy opponents. Now, but after that is a little bit, the only thing I'll probably have to explain is about the star player and what being the star player actually means. But once the 7 lives are up, the star player emerges. Now, by the game's definition, the star player is usually the person who is performing the best on their team. Sometimes it may feel like you're performing the best, but sometimes you might not get it. I don't know, probably ignore that. But what becoming the star player does, basically, it gives you more health and it gives you more ammo, is what I've found so far. I don't know if there's like new things to be discovered or like extra benefits, but those are the main two. It gives you extra health and extra ammo. But the downside is that your health regenerates slower because you have more health, which is a fair trade-off. So basically, taking down the star player and Smash the Star is usually a team effort, because since they have more health and ammo, if you try to get into 1v1, most of the time the star players is going to be able to defeat you first before you defeat them. But Smash the Star is pretty simple. The next game mode is Happy Bath Survival. This game mode is a little bit more complex than Smash the Star, but it's still, in my opinion, pretty simple. Basically what it is, still have a team of 4, but it turns into a 2v2 elimination. So 2 people on each team are put into the arena, and the goal is just to eliminate the other 2 enemy players. But the other 2 teammates that are not in the arena are basically supports. They're given a special foam gun that just paints the floor, and they're given 2 generic abilities. The first ability is over the head missiles, similar to Melty and Barishador's skill, and then the second ability is just a generic grenade, very similar to Spiky from Soa. Happy Bath Survival is probably more aligned a little bit more to teamwork since there's less players, and then the arena, like all the arenas in Happy Bath Survival are pretty small. And the thing about Happy Bath Survival too, that there's hazard. There's water hazard. You get knocked into the water, you just instantly die. That's about it. But Happy Bath as well, a lot of people don't like the mode, but it's like kind of questionable. But teamwork is definitely a strong suit in this mode. Then the final game mode that we have in Foamstars at this time of recording is Rubber Duck Party. So Rubber Duck Party is the first objective game mode where there's something in the middle of the map that you gotta push towards the enemy team, and it's not like Smash the Star where the main way to win the game is just getting chills or taking down the enemy team. Rubber duck, you actually have to push a giant like boat with the duck on it to the enemy's goal. This is my favorite mode so far in the game because the fact that it's a objective game mode, but more on that. The main thing about rubber duck is once you get to the middle of the map and sit on the very top of the duck and capture the point is like glowing. But let's say that you win the first fight against the enemy team and capture it. So there's basically like two things you can do. You can sit on the duck, and if you have you can use the interact button, which is circle by default on the PlayStation controller. If you hold that for amount of time, dance, you could basically make the duck speed up and skip a lot of percents. But another thing too about the rubber duck that I don't think a lot of people gonna know, I had seen this on one of Square Enix websites with tips about the game. If you foam in front of the duck and you have it in your possession, the duck goes faster on your team's foam. Because one thing I didn't kind of notice too with the duck is if there's foam in a way, the duck clears it. So it makes sense that your team's foam makes it go a little bit faster if you don't dance. But that means the opposite is true for the enemies. If there's enemy foam in front of the duck and you have it in your team's possession, the duck moves a lot slower. So keep that in mind. Another thing that I like about Rubber Duck Party 2 is that once you capture the duck, you're not forced to stand like on the duck on the boat for it to keep moving. Because once you capture it, like everybody on the team can get off the duck and go engage the enemy and it still be moving, which is a very unique aspect about it. Another thing the mode has are checkpoints, which are fair. If they have checkpoints, then the mode would be a lot harder to play in, basically. But the thing about the checkpoints too that people don't realize is the same rule applies. If you capture the duck and it's at a checkpoint, you don't have to stand on the duck to capture the checkpoint as well. It does it automatically as long as you have it in your possession. And then the last thing about Rubber Duck 2, once the game, like the timer gets to a minute, duck just moves faster in general, which can make as a comeback. Sometimes that feels a little unfair because if you get wiped, like if you get team wiped, the enemies can get a huge lead or a huge comeback, and usually with very little room for error to do so. But overall, Rubber Duck Party is pretty fun. Objective game mode actually makes you think and have to use your brain a lot of the time, and it's just generally fun overall. Now, this is going to be the last section in this beginner's guide. This is going to be about important tips and tricks to definitely know when you're playing. These are things that the game is probably not going to tell you, or some things you might not know unless someone tells you that you probably won't discover through normal gameplay. There are a little bit quite a things to know about, and some tech and tricks and stuff that I discovered or noticed during my gameplay. So the first important tip I gotta know is some abilities in this game are going to like knock you down or knock you up in the air, and you won't be able to control your character. But if you mash the jump button, you can recover mid-air and have less downtime. Basically, that's definitely gonna be an important one to know, because that could save your life, like in like basically every situation or most situation. The second tip that I noticed too is when you're surfing on the surfboard on your I would say yeah on your foam. If you do a 180, like whatever direction you're moving, you flick the left stick in the opposite direction. The character does a 180 animation, and then for a little bit, your speed on the surfboard increases. I would say 100% try to incorporate this in your gameplay almost all the time, because the extra speed means you can dodge a lot more stuff and probably confuse the opponents a lot more. Because having extra speed in a game like this definitely matters a lot. Get the jump on people. Another important tip to note in this game is about how the ammo works. The ammo is called liquid. That if you don't want to manually reload your weapon, your ammo does refill automatically over time, but you're not gonna be able to use your main weapon. And then speaking on that topic, there are two characters with dives in this game, Agito and Wraithbreaker. Both of their dives, if you dive in your own team foam color, both of them instantly refills their liquid. Just like the same thing when you use an SSS, one of their super, like any character's superstar skill, your liquid also gets instantly refilled after you. But on the topic of Agito and Wraithbreaker, their first abilities, there's a main difference between them is the fact that they can heal. If you didn't know, if you dive, Agito or Wraithbreaker, own team's foam color, they both get health back, but their healing is different. Agito gets his health back instantly, up to about 70% in my games. I don't know if that's super consistent, but that's what I've noticed. And then Wraithbreaker's dive, his health starts regenerating over time. So, key differences if you didn't know. In the rubber duck party mode that I talked about in the last section that I kind of forgot to cover, but I put it in this section because this also counts as a tip, is that if someone, doesn't matter if it's a teammate or an enemy, gets a successful dance off on the duck and it starts to charge forward quickly, if you're in the way of the duck, you will get knocked over. So that is something to keep in mind, because that could mess up your game, like your gameplay and getting knocked over, or it could mess up the enemies too. Doesn't matter who's in the way, like whoever is just standing in the way will get knocked over. That's the one thing to keep in mind. The final important tips I got for the section, and then including the end of this guide, is something that's pretty simple. You could pick it up when playing the game, but just in case you didn't. So when every character in this game starts casting their ultimate / superstar skill, they are completely invincible. You'll be able to notice this, because if you shoot them while they're casting their ultimate, you will see like little like armor shield plate diamonds. This means that they are invincible, but that is not something to be really scared about, except for Soa, because Soa, when she goes into spiky ball, you can't shoot her through it, so she's the only character that can just eat up a bunch of damage. Right? But every character, after they cast their superstar skill, if you keep shooting them, you can just damage them as normal. Even Barisador and Melty, the game tells you that their ultimates and some of their skills are very punishable, so be careful when you use them. But even on the startup, for both those characters, they are invincible. They don't start taking damage until they are in the middle of the action. So even if they're invincible, you can still just sit there next to them, wait till the invincibility's up, and just shoot them and take them down. So that one's definitely important because I know some people might be like, "Oh, I can't damage them," and then just back up. But a lot of situations you probably don't have to do that unless their team is backing them up. So that's the last tip I have for this section. Now this concludes my first beginner's guide for Foamstars and my first guide overall for this game. So those of you who actually stuck around to watch the entire video, I'd like to give you a big thanks. I just decided just to randomly record this video. I haven't recorded an actual video like this where I sit down, go over guides in a very long time. On my channel, I posted some like just Foamstars gameplay and stuff, but this is the first actual like content video where I sit down and talk about the game. But those of you who are new, who are newcomers to Foamstars or just getting into the game, welcome to Foamstars. This game is actually pretty fun. Ever since it was announced and I played the beta, it's been such a blast. This game pretty simple, but it's gonna take probably some time to learn for a lot of people. But whatever, I find the game very. So more guides to come in the future. I'm definitely gonna be making the next like series I'm gonna be making. Gonna be about character guides. I'm gonna try to keep my guides simple since the game is pretty new. Don't want to overcomplicate some things to like a lot of new people. But anyways, thank you so much for watching the video. For guys to come in the future, and have fun in your Foamstars games.